Welcome to the RotoWire Prospect Podcast, brought to you by Sling. I'm your host, James Anderson, and today got a very fun episode. Got President of RotoWire, Peter Schoenke, joining me today. And for those of you who listen to the SiriusXM Farm Friday show, you may have heard Eric Halterman and I do this in the past. It's called a stash draft. And basically what we're going to do is go through injured players who are available in at least 25% of RotoWire Online Championships, so 12-team mixed leagues, big leaguers who are on the IL, and then prospects who are at AAA, maybe even at AA. And Pete and I are going to go back and forth drafting these players based on how much we'd want to be stashing them in a redraft league. So pretty self-explanatory. Pete, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me. You have the first pick.
Well, yeah, a couple things about that. First of all, your top 100 rookies list was just invaluable for drafting, right? So I use that a lot, and already in the preseason here, or in the early season, excuse me, it's doing pretty well. Sal Stewart is your number 3 guy on that list. I think he's hitting 750 so far. I mean, I know it's the first week, but it's looking like, as well as a pick can look after less than a week. And you had McGonigal number 5 and Weatherhold number 4. I mean, all these are good. So a lot of it for me is just resetting that list after all the cuts were made and early in the preseason to figure out which of these guys you want to stash versus obviously major leaguers who are going to come back. And so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you're basing this on kind of a 12-team RotoWire Online Championship. Is that kind of the format that we're looking at?
Yeah. Just those types of leagues where these types of players might be available. Obviously, the player who we take first here probably isn't available in any of these, but just to kind of give people sort of a perspective of whether their stash still makes sense at this point in the season.
And so my philosophy, you tell me if you'd be doing it differently. If it's a 12-team RotoWire Online Championship league, I'm probably not going to hold on a guy who's going to be up past June 1, unless it's just some sort of some super high upside impact guy. Because you really, you need a lot of roster churn. I know in my online championship, I'm going to be trying to fish for saves all season long. So just to give some context, I'm probably going to go lean more towards guys who are going to give me an impact in the first month or two, with the caveat of I'll take somebody that I think could be a real, league winner or something like that and hold on to him. But somebody that's going to be might come up in July and could be a huge, massive hit. I'm probably not really going to have that guy. Now, I think if we were talking 15-team league, maybe that's different. Obviously, it's a lot of league dependent stuff. I'm in a league with some really shallow benches, so that would influence things even more. So anyway, just to put some context on at least my picks. Maybe you're different. Maybe in that format, you're still shooting for the moon.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a sliding scale, right? Where you're factoring the upside and the ETA. And if it's going to be someone you're waiting over a month on, they better be someone who has a chance to really provide impact when they get there versus, someone with lower impact potential. I would hope that there's someone I could plug into my lineup in the coming weeks.
So, okay, all that said, the first pick that I would have would be Konnor Griffin, right? Who certainly is not filling my veteran help me in the next couple of weeks thing, but he has, huge upside. You've said he's the best prospect you've seen on your list in the last decade, right? I think would be.
Yeah, basically that'd be about when Acuna was a prospect. Yep.
Yeah. So obviously massive upside, and could be up soon, right? I mean, it could be up, it's next week or this weekend or something like that. It's not out of the possibility. And so that'd be my first pick. He's somebody I would hold on for a couple months, and he has the possibility that he could be up any week. I mean, how much do you think the recent Colt Emerson contract has an impact on his likelihood of getting called up, since now there's another, somewhat similar player that's a benchmark for a contract?
Well, it's tough because you can't assume that Pittsburgh's a rational actor here. So I think it'd make all the sense of the world for them to just come to terms and do a long-term deal right now. the fact that they haven't done that yet tells me that Pittsburgh is holding the line at a certain number, and Griffin's camp is not willing to take that number. So I don't know if the Emerson contract makes the Pirates ownership up their offer or not. I think that this is like the layup. Like, you have to take Griffin here, I think, just based on the upside. And we just kind of have to hope for the best. I don't think we can assume that Pittsburgh is going to do what we may perceive to be the right thing. But Griffin is off to a very strong start at AAA. He's got 2 steals in 4 games, 4 walks, 4 Ks. So like, I think the most likely scenario is that he's up towards the end of April after they've gained an extra year of control. But, you know, if he's still in the minors come May, I don't think any of us can just be like, this is insane. How is this happening? Because we've seen this exact team make mistakes along these lines in the past. So I was hoping the whole offseason that it would make sense that the 2 sides would come to an agreement on a long-term deal. They didn't do that. I assume it's because of ownership and not the player trying to double the record, you know, like I assume it's just an ownership thing. But, you know, I think if Griffin just kind of goes out and kicks the door down at AAA, hopefully we see him in a couple weeks, but no sure thing there.
And what's your estimate for the date when they would gain the most flexibility in terms of an extra year? Is
it's like April 13th, April 14th, something like that.
That's the Super 2 deadline these days, or
that's the Super 2 is the early June cutoff for getting a 4th year of arbitration, and then the getting a 7th year team control is mid-April is the cutoff.
So those are probably the 2 benchmarks that you're looking at for this and anybody else that'd be in this scenario then. So
sure, yeah.
The other thing, just to go off on a tangent here, we also had the Cooper Pratt contract, that was what, $50 million, 8 years. And, you know, he might be the number 3 prospect at shortstop for the Brewers. I mean, they're super deep. So that's, you know, for any other organization, he'd be like maybe number 1 overall for a lot of teams. It's kind of a new trend, right? I mean, you and I were talking before, we were trying to think of anybody who got signed to an extension like this and wasn't immediately in the majors or on the cusp of the majors. And you can count Colt Emerson as well. Now that probably means he's going to get called up in like a day or 2 or something like that. I mean, you know, I would think pretty soon. But do you think this is a new trend and a new way to get cost certainty? And you know, we're going to start seeing this with minor leaguers, you know, not just guys who are, you know, like Konnor Griffin, just on the edge of a call up.
Yeah, I feel weird saying it's like groundbreaking, but I do think it will sort of start a trend of sharper teams kind of getting that cost certainty on specific players that they think, you know, like with Cooper Pratt, like he's an elite defender at shortstop. Like worst case scenario, Cooper Pratt, like absolute worst case scenario, he has like a Taylor Walls type of career where he's just a long time like bench player who's providing like over a win of replacement value each year. But then in the scenario where his bat takes a step forward, he's always been a high contact hitter, then they're getting just incredible surplus value on this contract. So it's kind of a calculated gamble where I'm sure that the Brewers don't see really any downside here, and they see a lot of upside by sort of buying in on this player before a potential power breakout happens. I don't think it changes Pratt's timetable at all, and I think the Brewers' depth of prospects is part of that. Like I think if you look at it from Pratt's standpoint, you've got Jet Williams there, you've got Jesus Mate there. Like this at least kind of gives you comfort knowing that you can just go out there and kind of do your job and not look over your shoulder. The playing time, you know, you're not sure exactly what the playing time is going to be, but you don't have to worry about you know, your family's well-being or anything like that. So I thought it made sense for both sides, and I'm curious to sort of see where it kind of goes from here. If other teams kind of follow in line this season, maybe next off season, but yeah, certainly interesting. And with the Emerson one, we'll talk about him soon, I'm sure, but I I think you got to feel good about it if you're rostering Emerson right now, you're stashing him. But again, I think JP Crawford will be back fairly soon. Cole Young's off to a good start. So I don't think it's a given that we see Emerson in the coming days. I do think we see him in the coming weeks, though.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how that those minor league contract extensions per se, kind of alter the fantasy and prospect landscape. But I don't know how it's going to do it. But if it becomes a trend, it definitely will be something to watch. But at this point, I'm not really sure exactly how it's going to do it. But it's very interesting.
Okay, so I'm going to make my first pick. You took Konnor Griffin. That would have been my pick as well. I have a feeling you're going to lean more into big leaguers than I am. So I'm going to take my favorite big leaguer here and take Bryce Miller. Again, I was looking for players who are on the IL and available in at least 25% of RotoWire online championships. So obviously Bryce Miller, I'm sure he's rostered everywhere Konnor Griffin's rostered, but coming back from an oblique strain, the fastball was back to where it was pre all of his injuries earlier in the spring, and then obviously had the oblique strain. So I still think there's a decent shot that we sort of see 85-90% of the Bryce Miller we were hoping to see at some point this season. It might still be, May when he comes back. Like, I'm not sure if he's back in April or not, depending on the rehab assignment, but at least he's not coming back from like a major surgery. He's not a pitching prospect. So I know Bryce Miller, once he's done with this rehab, he will be in the big league rotation. It's a good home park, et cetera. So I think that Miller made sense here as the number 2 overall pick in our stash draft.
So I had him like number 7. I mean, all this stuff you made makes sense, but at the same time, he had a rough year last year. He's coming back from 2 injuries. He's not healthy now. So I just would worry that if I take him, things always take longer, and now he's on your bench and it's like, May 15th, June 1st or something. And you're like, I waited all this time, but makes sense. Okay. So my pick would be, I said you're the veteran guy, but I would take Colt Emerson. I mean, I got to believe that this contract means he's up sooner, if not really soon. And, there seems to be opportunity there. JP Crawford's hurt, maybe he'll be back soon or something like that. But, second base with Cole Young isn't really set. And it's certainly, some other areas on the team, there could be some openings. So I have him. He'd be my number 2. I have him. Let me ask you, since this is a podcast that's going to have my teams, right? I have a 11-team AL only league. Plus, we also have the Brewers. That's the league that started RotoWire with me and Jeff Erickson and Herb Hill. He's one of my. You only get 3 reserves, so it's like a really short bench. I drafted him. He didn't make obviously didn't make the roster, but I'm inclined to keep him in that format. Even though it's a pretty good big opportunity cost, given that he might be up soon. So am I wrong? Is he a good pick at number 3 overall here?
I think he could be. I don't know when he's going to be up. Like, he definitely could be up this weekend. But I think Cole Young's off to a good enough start. JP Crawford, I just can't picture them moving JP Crawford into like a bench role. Like, when he comes back from the IL, it's just like, hey, welcome back to the team. Now you're just out of a job. I don't really see that happening. But I do still think like these things typically figure themselves out. The fact that they don't have to worry about any sort of service time considerations now does make it so that they can just bring Emerson up whenever it makes the most baseball sense. I'm just not sure when exactly it's going to make the most baseball sense. So I would have waited a little bit on him, but I definitely think that the talent is through the roof. Like, I've kind of compared him to Jackson Merrill from a few years ago, where he's just such a good pure hitter that people don't really talk about the power potential or the speed, but he's kind of got sneaky power potential and sneaky speed. So love the player, just not sure exactly when we see Emerson.
All right. Well, I'm probably biased since he's on my roster already, but I'll take it.
Okay. So back to me here, and I'm going to take Robby Snelling of the Marlins at AAA right now. I don't think he's going to be at AAA come the end of the month. I think he will get the call sometime in the second half of April. And obviously Chris Paddock was terrible in his debut for the Marlins. At least from a earned run standpoint, I suppose, if you think he can go 6 strikeouts, 0 walks, and prevent runs in future starts, maybe that'll happen. But Jansen Junk is also in the rotation. Max Meyer never seems to be able to stay productive and healthy for more than a month at a time. So there's just a lot of different ways that a spot opens up here for Robby Snelling. I think once they get that 7th-year control from him, he'll be up. I mean, he was someone that I thought probably should have been up late last year. Didn't have a flawless spring, but he did show his incredible upside this spring. So Robby Snelling for me at 4th overall in our stash draft.
All right, so that brings an interesting quandary for me because in my 12-team Beat Peter RotoWire Online Championship this last week, I dropped Robby Snelling and I picked up Nasim Nunez because I needed stolen bases. And so was that a mistake?
Well, I would have wanted to pick up Nasim Nunez if I needed stolen bases. I don't know if I might have been able to find another drop for him.
Yeah, I'll list some other names here. You can tell me where I made my mistake. The rest of my bench, which is pretty good. I mean, Spencer Steer, Carlos Correa, who's got corner and middle, so he's a guy that you want to have one of those guys on your bench to plug in if on a Friday you've got an injury. But then I hit on a lot of prospects: Dylan Beavers, Chase DeLauder, and then I have excuse me 1 second here, Carson Benj. I think that's how you say his last name, right?
Yep.
And then Robert Garcia. Maybe he could have been the drop, but you need saves.
I probably would have dropped. Beavers or Steer, I think.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is also just in this format in this league, I don't really ever want to be naked, where I don't really have a corner or outfielder or something like that. I mean, when it's Friday morning and one of your guys is on the DL and you have to take a 0 for the weekend, that's just kind of painful. So yeah, maybe Steer I should have dropped, but nevertheless, I just want to give people context for what kind of decision making we're thinking of, because in that league I was like, I need to have one spot where I can constantly take some shots, right? Because right. I'm low on steals, I'm low on saves, and if you're holding on to these guys too much, you're gonna miss out. So that one could burn me, but that's a good pick. Obviously, I drafted him for a reason, right? So,
all right, you're back up.
All right, so my next one would be kind of unsexy, but let's see, Lourdes Gurriel, with the Diamondbacks. He's working his way back from a knee injury. I mean, this one he might be back sooner rather than late. I mean, he might be back later rather than sooner, but obviously not an exciting player, superstar, but has hit last 3 years 19, 18, 24 homers. Had 10 steals last year. Probably not going to steal, coming back from a knee injury as much. But in the Diamondbacks outfield DH situation, definitely there's some openings there. Payton Smith just is on the DL, and so I think when he's ready, he's probably going to get in there and play DH and get a lot of playing time. And in these leagues, sometimes you just need guys that can be nice fillers and get some counting stats, and he seems to fit the mold.
Yeah, I think of all the hitters who are on the big league injured list right now, Gurriel will be the first one back from the IL of the guys who are going to assume regular roles once they're back. So that definitely makes sense. Okay, Pete, I have a few different directions that I want to go here. I think I'm going to take the last big leaguer I really wanted here. I'm going to take let me just double check. I'm going to take Edwin Uceta of the Rays. He's progressing in his throwing program. He threw live batting practice this past Friday. Currently on the IL with shoulder impingement. So scary injury, certainly, but the fact that the Rays are deploying Griffin Jacks in a fireman role kind of tells me that they might be saving that true sort of ninth inning role for Uceta. Now they have thrown out Jacks in like maybe the higher leverage spots of the game, but they're definitely not saving him for the ninth. And so I think it makes it possible that Uceta comes back late April, early May, and gets 20 saves rest of the season. It might not happen, but just given how hard it is to get saves, how expensive closers are in Fab when it's clear that a guy's getting saves, I think I'll roll the dice here with Edwin Uceta with the sixth pick in our stash draft.
Yeah, I had him lower. I have him 10th on my list, just because all that stuff makes sense, and obviously anybody that's got a shot at saves is worth throwing some money at. But at the same time, there might not be any real closer in that bullpen all year, and he didn't get saves last year. And first half of the year he wasn't really that good. Maybe I'm just burned because I had him on a team and he did terrible for me. But I could see the case, but I think he's like he's not a sure thing that I would pass over some guaranteed playing time or some super upsides for some prospects. So now that I've trashed your pick, I'll go with my next pick. I'll go with Bryce Eldridge. Giants. I mean, how's he not up already? They obviously have an opening, and does he need to prove anything more at AAA? I mean, I don't think so, right? So
I think they're manipulating service time. They're getting a 7th year control, and they're going to have to keep him down into, a little longer than mid-April. They might have to keep him down until late April, early May, just due to the fact he was up a little bit last season. I'm getting kind of weird vibes from the Giants, like the new skipper, like, I don't know, like, I don't know. They're playing Casey Schmidt a ton. I like Casey Schmidt a little bit as sort of like a low end regular potentially. So I don't think we see
not a first baseman, right?
Well, they don't. I mean, he's not a good defender though. Like I don't think you want Casey Schmidt playing second base. Like I think you want him playing third or first. So I don't know. I think that's definitely the upside pick. I considered Eldridge with my last pick. And I thought that they should have, I think they should have broken camp with him, but the fact that they didn't tells me that they're going a different route, which I assume is to gain that 7th year control. So I think it's a good pick. I don't think he's a bad stash at all.
Yeah, I just all your stuff is all of that makes sense. I just look at that one and it's just like, really? Okay, he's got to be up sooner rather than later, but who knows?
All right, so we've made 7 picks in our stash draft. I'm eyeing up a couple more pitching prospects I'm excited to roll the dice on, but first let's take a quick message, take a break and hear a quick message from our sponsors. Tired of paying for live TV you don't watch? With Sling, you can get the live sports, news, and entertainment you want only when you want it. Get your hands on a Sling 1-day, 3-day, or 7-day pass starting at just $4.99. Get over 30 of your favorite channels for the best price and stop overpaying for full-time live TV plans. Sling has a pass for any occasion. Big game tonight? Grab a 1-day pass for just $4.99. Want a full week of live TV for one low price? Get a 7-day Sling pass. And for all those weekend watchers out there, you can enjoy live sports, news, and entertainment with a 3-day Sling pass. Only Sling lets you watch when you want, so you only pay for what you watch. Watch live TV on your terms starting at just $4.99. Sling lets you do that. Use our link in the description below to sign up for Sling today. All right, we're back. James Anderson here with Peter Schoenke. We're doing a stash draft featuring big leaguers on the IL who are available in at least 25% of RotoWire Online Championships, and all minor league players are eligible for this. To recap so far, Pete started with Konnor Griffin. Then I went with Bryce Miller. Pete took Colt Emerson. I took Robby Snelling. Pete took Lourdes Gurriel. I took Edwin Uceta. Pete just took Bryce Eldridge, and I am going to take Hagen Smith of the White Sox. Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz of the White Sox were both two guys that were risers on my last update based on their spring showings, but they will probably be bigger risers on my next update if they keep pitching like they did in their first outing at AAA. Schultz and Smith piggybacked in their first outing. Smith threw 3 innings. Schultz threw, I want to say 3 as well. Schultz threw 4 innings. They were both very good. They both averaged, I think, like 96.5 miles an hour on their fastballs. Obviously, they're both big southpaws with big-time breaking balls. And, I think the White Sox rotation is probably the easiest to break into in baseball right now. Just looking at the Davis Martin spot, the Sean Burke spot, they've got Eric Fetty there. Basically, everyone behind Shane Smith, I think, is vulnerable, and Shane Smith had the worst outing of the 5 of them on opening day. So the White Sox have basically said that, Hagen Smith, Noah Schultz, Tanner McDougal, those guys, they'll be up once they have earned it. And I think Hagen Smith has the upside to sort of make a multi-week stash worth it here. So I'll go with Hagen Smith of the White Sox.
So why did you take him over Tanner McDougal, who you had in your preseason, spring training top 100 rookies is higher in the rankings?
Just because Schultz is older, Schultz is a college arm. He's someone that I think if developmentally things had gone the way the White Sox had wanted, he would have been up last year. Obviously, him and Chase Burns got drafted back-to-back and were sort of thought of similarly in that draft. So, I think teams are going to want to get the first overall pick guy or the high first-round pick guy that they've invested a ton into. Like, that guy's always going to get the look. McDougal had a much better year than Hagen Smith last year, but Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz had better first starts at AAA than McDougal did. And McDougal, I could just see them, taking a little bit more time with him, just given that he was a prep righty and Hagen Smith was the 5th overall pick in 2024 out of the SEC.
Makes sense. I mean, for me, team context would have me just holding off on a lot of those White Sox prospects, right? I mean, you're probably not going to get a lot of wins, and the defense behind him could be an issue and whatnot. So, so with my pick, I would go. I'll go Shane Bieber. There's openings in the Jays rotation, unfortunately, as someone who had a lot of shares of Cody Ponce, which did not work out really well. Didn't even get this awesome 2 first start matchup against the Rockies and White Sox. So, maybe, when he comes back, there should be a spot for him, and, might be, I don't know. I mean, early May, so he's thrown off a mound. So obviously he's still got a ways to go, but seems like he'll be, when he's ready, they'll plug him back in.
Yeah, the Cody Ponce injury was maybe the saddest thing I've seen, other than O'Neal Cruz playing defense this year so far. I just really was looking forward to seeing. We didn't even get to see Cody. Give me a full start. I just want to see what it looked like.
I know. Yeah, and I mean, you got to drop him everywhere. I mean,
yeah,
torn ACL. I mean, they say sprains a tear, and
right.
I mean, that's I mean, keeper league's different story or something, but I'm dropping him, and I have a lot of shares.
Yeah, I don't have as many shares as I wanted, but I definitely got some shares. Okay, so Shane Bieber, yeah, I mean, I'm obviously worried about his health a little bit. Otherwise, I would have picked him sooner, but definitely will be a spot for him if he can get healthy. Okay, so I've got some big league pitchers I'm considering. One hitter at AAA who's off to a great start I'm considering. But I think I'm just going to take. I think I'm going to take Noah Schultz. I'm going to double dip on the White Sox starters here. Just think that whichever of Smith or Schultz is pitching better after a few weeks, I think they'll be up. They both had really, really strong debuts, like I said, at AAA. It's just all about the walks with Schultz. So just as long as Schultz and Smith, like, just keep tabs on the walk rate. As long as it's kind of around 3.5 per 9, I think they're on a good path there. So just chasing upside. And obviously, I don't think I would have 2 White Sox pitching prospects stashed on the same roster, but I do think based on the early returns at AAA and the opening in the rotation, I think they have enough upside to warrant it.
All right, with mine, I'll go with another veteran. I'll go with Tommy Edman. Should play second base for the Dodgers when he's back. Obviously, has potential, double potential in terms of homers and steals. Well, he doesn't steal as much these days, but I think he's still taking batting practice. So this could actually be something where it's late May, early June. But when he gets back, he should get enough playing time to be helpful in most formats.
Yeah, he's maybe the hitter I feel. He might be the hitter I feel best about, just in terms of what we'll get when he's back, because that second base spot is just wide open for him. And the positional eligibility is nice, so I don't mind it. I do think I think late May is probably when we're looking at with Tommy Edman there, but you can't, beggars can't be choosers at this stage of a stack.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Give me another lefty. Give me Payton Tolle. I just, the Red Sox, I don't know what their actual perfect plan was. If everything goes perfectly in the spring, like, was this all just a cloak and dagger thing with Connolly early? I don't really know, but Payton Tolle, I'd never really expected to break camp once they kind of made their flurry of off-season signings, but he showed his upside in spring training. Obviously, he struck out 6 and 4 innings in his first start of the year at AAA. Don't think we see him in April, but you never know. Like, injuries could force him into the big league rotation, but this is more of just kind of a betting on how good I think Tolle can be from like June, July, August, etc., and just given the stage we're at in this draft.
Yeah, that's the one where, like, having a 12-team online championship, he might be one who's just, even though he's got the upside, he's still a young pitcher, and it might not be until middle of the season before we see him, right? So I have a feeling I probably might pick him up and then drop him. But of course, we're well into the draft, so a lot of guys are going to be in that scenario.
Right.
For me, I would take Jasson Dominguez.
Yeah,
I know he hasn't really quite turned out to be yet what people thought he was going to be, but you got to think there's going to be an opening in the Yankees lineup at some point. And even though maybe he's not that great a player, he's, for fantasy, I mean, he's still a guy that steals bases and hits homers. So if he gets opportunity, it should happen. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton can't stay healthy for more than a couple more weeks, right? So, so he'd be there. You might even be able to rank him higher. I
don't think there are any bad picks at this point. And I think Dominguez, he's one injury to any number of guys potentially away from being up and playing. I'm intrigued. I'm not going to take Spencer Jones in this draft. If you want to, you can. But I think the Yankees kind of like Spencer Jones more than Dominguez at this point. So I don't know. I hope Dominguez gets another look, assuming he's putting the work in defensively at AAA. But if it's possible Jones has better numbers than Dominguez in like a month and he gets the look first, but I would like to see if Dominguez has actually improved defensively at AAA, because he has all the tools to be a good defender. Sometimes guys just can't figure that part of things out, but hopefully, the rude awakening of being dispatched to the minors helps in that regard.
So just as an aside, he was your number 4 prospect as recently as 2024. Is he, if we had a list of post-hype sleepers, people who are no longer on your prospect list and, but are still out there, but, would he be the top? Because the other guy I wanted to ask you about, and he's somebody I could take in this draft, but I don't think anyone ever taken, is Christian Campbell. Wouldn't he be another guy that'd be, both of those guys, good post-hype sleepers? And if you're in a format where you could grab him, and again, since this is about my leagues, I took Christian Campbell late as a reserve pick in the staff keeper league draft, which is a very deep 16-team, 40-man roster, 10 minor leaguers, 7 reserves. And I thought, well, he's just the kind of guy that could end up panning out. I know his ability to get any playing time is seems cloudy at the moment, but you just never know. Anybody else in that camp? I mean, those are the two to me that were like,
well, those guys are super cheap because nobody wants them anymore.
Yeah.
So they're definitely post hype. Sleeper, I think, would indicate that I like the idea of adding them. I think like Jordan Lawler was sort of that guy, but then he had a great spring. So obviously not someone we're talking about here, but yeah, I mean, it's all about defense with Dominguez and Campbell. Like they both can't play good defense up the middle, and they haven't hit enough to make up for that fact. And their teams aren't going to put up with their bad defense in the meantime. So, yeah, I mean, that's a complicating factor. Like if you can't play defense and you can't hit enough to play at the bottom of the defensive spectrum, you're just not going to play on a team like the Red Sox or the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is all league dependent. And in a 12-team online championship, you're not going to pick up Christian Campbell like right now, right, and keep him around. No. But in that staff keeper league, that's the kind of guy that could really pay off for you as a keeper down the road if you ever, like you said, figures out a position, gets run somewhere, and next thing you know, he's back to where he was. So anyway, I was looking at Dominguez. I was just like, that's another thing where I was like, yeah, he's kind of hasn't really launched yet, but at the same time, he was well thought of, and it's not going to be crazy if he gets called up and has at least like a 15-15, 20-20 season the rest of the way.
So I'm on the clock for the 14th overall pick here. I'm going to take man.
There's $1 million riding on this pick.
Really leaning into pitching. I'm going to take I had to decide which pitcher I'm going to take. I'm going to take Jonah Tong. He had a pretty good start at AAA. 1 hit, 2 walks, 4 Ks. The Mets don't need him right now, but I think he will be the first guy who gets the call when they do need someone at AAA. So I'm not thinking April for Tong, but I'm thinking sort of mid-May. I could get Tong up, and he might be up for the rest of the season at that point. And great team context.
Well, my sort of third tier of picks, I had 3 pitchers who were like enough high upside that I'd be willing to hold on to it for a couple months, and it was Tong, Snelling, and Tolle. So there you go. Those are the 3 guys in this format that I'd probably ride around. So he definitely was good. My next pick would be Dylan Cruz.
There you go.
Sort of inexplicably in the minors. I mean, I know performance-wise, that's maybe not a total surprise that he's in the minors, but he was up last year and he's a top prospect, and so they got sent down, which is a little, but I don't think any of us really expected it. At least I didn't expect it in the league where I have him as a keeper in and only league. So I got kind of surprised, but you got to think he's going to be up soon if he does well at AAA. Unfortunately, he's 2 for his first 11 in 3 games, but of course it's only 3 games. But I think he's got the upside to definitely merit keeping him around for a month or so.
Yeah, I mean, no bad picks at this point. But I was low enough on Cruz this draft season that I didn't spend any time really considering whether he'd go to AAA or not, because I just knew he wasn't going to be on any of my teams, and was kind of annoyed that they sent him down instead of just breaking camp with him, because then people stopped drafting him. All right, I'm going to take another pitcher. I'm going to take River Ryan of the Dodgers. And he hasn't pitched yet at AAA. They're managing his innings. I think he's going to make double-digit big league starts for the Dodgers this year, and I think the Blake Snell injury opens the door for those starts to come in the first half of the season, and then they could transition River Ryan into more of like a relief role in the second half or something like that. So just hoping to get, 6, 7, 8 first half starts from River Ryan here, and hoping for the best.
Yeah, I can see that working out. In that 12-team type format, it's going to be tough, though, because he's like, he might not have such a set role that you feel confidence any one week, putting him in your roster. But, if he gets like a rotation spot for a while or whatever, yeah, for sure. Okay, next pick, I'll take a rookie or potential rookie, call up a prospect, Ryan Waldschmidt, Diamondbacks. Obviously showed a lot last year at AA, and the outfield, if Lourdes Gurriel does not work out as a setback or anything else, there seems to be opportunity, right? So at some point you got to figure he's going to be up in the majors sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's a good pick. The only reason I hadn't taken him to this point is I'm kind of thinking June maybe for him. But yeah, I think he's going to be great once he's up. Okay, so yeah, we're kind of going faster here. I'm going to take Charlie Condon. I don't actually think Charlie Condon's going to do that well in the big leagues, but I think he's going to get a shot very soon based on what he's doing at AAA. And, you don't have to be an amazing player to have an amazing few weeks playing for the Rockies or something like that. So like Condon has enough power that he could just go on a tear for a few weeks and really move the needle. Maybe he cools off and maybe eventually drop him. But just so people know what he's up to at AAA, Charlie Condon is hitting .357 with 2 homers and a steal in 4 games at AAA, 202 WRC plus, striking out a third of the time. So, need the strikeouts to come down a little bit, but I don't think the Rockies are going to keep him at AAA all season. So just taking a shot on Charlie Condon, even though I think he would struggle initially against big league pitching.
Do we have any read on how the new Rockies regime is going to do with their prospects? I mean, my only worry for them would be like, I could just see them sort of just, not really being aggressive promoting them this year as they sort things out and maybe try to tank this year or whatever, you know what I mean? So like, could be the other way around. They could be all prospect city second half and we're loving it. But that'd be my one thing about him is, who knows, right?
Yeah, we definitely don't know. And they definitely have a lot of first basemen that they're getting looks at. Like they're playing TJ Rumfield every day, and they're playing Troy Johnston against righties. Both those guys are first base DH types. So they definitely have players they're trying to evaluate, but number 4 overall pick from 2020 or number 3 overall pick from 2024. Owners typically just want those guys up when they're ready. Like, gave this guy a $9.25 million signing bonus. Probably not going to keep him at AAA for that long if he's mashing, would be my guess.
Okay, so now for the next pick. Now I got to tell you that I'm sort of like off the reservation in terms of set picks. I'm taking some total wild cards. I think I would take one of 2 players. Maybe they're not even on your radar, but either Didier Fuentes, who might not qualify according to your stuff, or J.R. Ritchie. I have J.R. Ritchie in a bunch of.
No, Fuentes he qualifies because he's back in the minor. He's in the minors.
Yeah, and a lot of draft holds I have Ritchie. It's just because it's just the depth of the Atlanta rotation. I just they're going to need guys, and probably sooner than later. So I would take Fuentes. I since this is all about my own personal stuff, I did see him pitch in spring training. He looked pretty good in his last start, so that was fun. But I'd take him. But that with the idea more of just not that these pitchers are necessarily going to be the high upside guys like Tong and Snelling and Tolle, but you got to think that there's going to be opportunity that's presented for themselves sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So since you're kind of winding down on your guys, how about I just make my final pick? That'll put us at 20, and then we can talk about some honorable mention guys.
Yep. Sounds good.
So I'll wrap things up. Oh man, I'll wrap things up with Justin Steele of the Cubs. Obviously not going to be back until late May at the earliest, but I do think he's a solid SP2 when he's in full health and everything. So don't expect him to just be back to that level right away, but maybe I get an SP2 in the second half and a usable starter for 6 weeks in the first half. So wrap things up with Justin Steele. I did strongly consider 3 Brewers pitchers who did not go. Quinn Priester, who's on the big league IL, Robert Gasser, and Logan Henderson, who are both off to really strong starts at AAA. The fact that all 3 of those guys are out there is probably why none of them went, because Priester potentially could come back from the IL before Gasser or Henderson come up. But Brandon Sproat, maybe he gets ticketed to AAA and one of Gasser or Henderson come up. But I like Priester, I like Gasser, I like Henderson. If any of those 3 look like they're about to enter the Brewers rotation, I think they have to be rostered in all formats. Just kind of unclear when we see those guys.
Gasser currently, is it Gasser or Gasser? Gasser. It's Gasser. Gasser leading the minors currently with 5.7 scoreless innings and 11 strikeouts, at least according to this one minor league scoreboard that I watched. So
yep, yeah, he's been great.
Yeah. All right, so a couple of my honorable mentions. Anthony Volpe's out there. At some point he's coming back and he's going to be the starting shortstop, and he does steal bases. Maybe you could put him higher for the veteran. Hunter Green's obviously someone I wanted to discuss. Format dependent, but in like a 12-team RotoWire Online Championship, it's just too long to hold on to him because he's probably not going to come back until, August 1st, right, or something like that could be well in play.
I can speak from experience here. He was my first pitcher selected in the Beat James Anderson OC, and I had to drop him on the first fab run. So
yeah, but I mean, if you have an IL slot or a different format or whatever, he could be really high up there. Like if you could hold on to a guy that could have a big impact for you for just like the last month or two, like especially like if you were in like a head-to-head league or something like that, and he could be around for the playoffs getting strikeouts for you. The other guys, the 2 Twins outfielders, Emmanuel Rodriguez, Walker Jenkins, I gotta think that they're going to be up at some point mid-season, both high-end prospects. As a Twins fan, I'm pretty down on the Twins, and I think they'll be trading lots of players and having lots of prospects up. So both of those, they're in AAA now. I mean, Rodriguez has got to stay healthy because he hasn't been able to stay healthy for any length of time. But I got to think that one or both of those guys are going to get a shot to play significant at-bats in the second half of the season.
Rodriguez would have been up for me fairly soon, just with him being on the 40-man and Jenkins not. But yeah, they both have to stay healthy.
All right, so let me rattle off a bunch of names here for you, and you can give me some feedback and some ideas. Lucas Giolito. Okay, now this is format dependent, but he is the best free agent out there, and it's really kind of strange that he hasn't signed yet. He's a pitcher, so it'd take him some time to ramp up. I've got him in the staff keeper league as a reserve. That's a super deep league, and I'm going to probably debate whether to drop him every week, right? And you think he's going to sign, but I'm reminded of JD Martinez, who just signed a front office contract as an advisor with the Mets yesterday. So I guess he's retired. And last year at this time, he was probably on, I think I had him on a reserve roster, and I was like, well, there's no way this guy's retiring. He was just an all-star 2 years ago, and he still was, had a good season last year, okay season with the Mets or whatever. And he didn't come back. So maybe Giolito doesn't come back. Obviously, I think he's younger, but is he worth holding on to?
I would cut him in that format. He's just, I'm looking at every projection system has him for an ERA over 4.5, and Oopsie has him for an ERA over 5. So like I'm sure all the big league teams have those same types of systems internally, and they're all just projecting a guy who's not a good big league starter. So
well, you haven't been in the athlete for a while, so maybe you forget how desperate people are for pitching.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple other ones. A couple relievers that are out there that I would consider. Oren Kerkering.
Yep, Orion Kerkering.
Yep, whose name I can never pronounce. Joe Paguro, the Giants. I mean, could be the next man up in the bullpen when he gets back healthy. Jason Adams, same thing in San Diego. And then the last one, maybe just because he's a former Twin, and I still like him, but Jose Barrios, who has a stress fracture in his arm, which who knows how long, what that could mean. But again, the Jays are, they're a good team, and they're gonna have openings in the rotation. And Barrios, he's been decent, recently. So if not exciting. So those are all the ones that I considered.
Okay, yeah. I think you kind of laid those all out. I think the reliever ones are definitely worth keeping an eye on. I'm not in on Barrios even if he gets healthy. I don't think he's that good anymore. But I do have a few more. I'll rattle off here and then we'll move on. So I've got Sam Antonacci of the White Sox, who I absolutely love. I think he could replace maybe Andrew Benintendi. Any other infielders get hurt, maybe Antonacci's up. I thought he was going to be like a midsummer guy, but if he keeps mashing at AAA, he might be a late April guy. Jared Jones of the Pirates, kind of on the same timetable as Justin Steele. I just think Steele will face fewer restrictions once he's healthy, better team context. Ha-Seong Kim, I would actually rather stash Kim, I think, than Volpe, just because I think Atlanta just desperately needs Kim, and I think Jose Caballero's maybe better than Volpe, so I just trust Kim to play more and play better once he's back. And then Cody Bradford of the Rangers. I think Cody Bradford is certainly like more of a floor than ceiling type of guy, but I think he'll be in the Rangers rotation before the end of May, I think, just based on his recovery. And that's a good home park to have a starting pitcher in. And just so people don't think we forgot about him, Elmer Rodriguez of the Yankees, Quinn Matthews of the Cardinals, George Clausen of the Angels, Carlos Legrand of the Yankees, Jackson Wiggins of the Cubs, McDougal of the White Sox, McDonald of the Giants, Andrew Vaughn and Jordan Westberg, a couple more big league IL guys, but not expecting them back for at least another month plus. I think that covers the stash draft, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, another one, Alan Roden, who's with the Twins,
Oh, yeah.
didn't look like he was going to win a regular job in the outfield. Got to the AAA, has been hitting well. Probably not someone you're stashing in a really deep league, but the kind of guy that, like, when his name pops up, you should remember him, because he's got some upside. So,
Pete, before we sign off here, this is your final week at RotoWire.
I guess we're breaking a little news here on the Prospect Pod.
Yeah, if you stayed on this long, then you get to hear a little breaking news. But I've never. You've been my longest boss in my life, and who knows if that record will ever get broken? But you've been the president of RotoWire for a very, very long time. What can you say has changed in the fantasy baseball space over that span, and like where do you think things are headed?
Yeah, so it was almost 30 years ago so it was probably late summer, early fall of 1996 when we came up with the idea for then Roto News, which became RotoWire. So yeah, almost 30 years. So definitely, the thing about the fantasy baseball is like so much has changed. Obviously, you can play for lots of money every day and daily, and there's like just so many more formats, and obviously we know way more about prospects than we did back then. But it's also kind of like not a lot has changed, in some ways. I feel like playing fantasy baseball just isn't that much different. And even though we have more info and obviously got the StatCast data and all kinds of stuff, but when you're on the clock for one of these picks, like we just did, it's really not that much different. It's like you still have to evaluate a whole bunch of factors, and there's, AI is going to come along and change everything, supposedly, and I'm sure, change a ton, but it's still always a kind of a tough decision to go through all the information and figure out how to make the best pick. So in some ways, it feels like it hasn't changed that much. I was trying to think of some fun nuggets just for prospects. One that's kind of fun is that I wrote the first ever Ohtani update in 2012 when he was 18 years old and in high school. So we were kind of on that one. I mean, we covered international prospects. I remember back in those days, it was the Cubans we were all interested in, right? Because like there was that big wave of Cubans that came over and were really successful. And I was doing all the international coverage, and I was also covering Japan. So when Ohtani came out, he obviously we probably weren't like unique on that, but that's one that probably we were earliest and panned out the biggest of anybody, right? So that we were kind of monitoring as an 18-year-old. So, yeah, James, I mean, it's been great working with you. I mean, it's great to see your evolution at the company. I kind of actually, a lot of people are always like, how do I break into fantasy sports and how do I get a job? And I kind of like always use you as kind of a good example of there's like two things that you should do if you ever want to get a job in fantasy. One is just to find a niche and just own it. I mean, you were not it wasn't like we hired you from the front office of a team, or you had this like scouting career. I mean, you just made yourself into what you are today with just a lot of hard work and just taking a niche and taking it to the nth degree, and done it exceptionally well. And I think that's a good example for anybody that wants to get in this business. I always say, like, go find something like, I don't know, just some unique area that's growing, WNBA injuries, or I don't know, whatever, but it wasn't like there weren't prospects, writers and people before. You just did it probably to a greater degree than they did. And the other thing you did is like, the other thing I would say for anybody getting is networking, right? And usually I say that when they're trying to get a job, so that you try to meet everyone and go to conferences like the FSGA or the winter meetings or whatever. And you've done some of that stuff, but you've also done just an amazing job of networking, kind of in a different way, but it also helped your career just within the prospect community and the high stakes community. I mean, all the people that are out there and what they're looking at, and being able to figure out what information matters, and also just what for the high stakes crowd, kind of like what they're looking at, and what moves the needle, and all that has just made you into really obviously I think the best prospect guy out there, but also really one of the better people we've ever had work for RotoWire, just your initiative and the way you've mastered the craft. So yeah, anybody out there who wants to figure out how to get James a job like James is definitely a good example to follow. So, and even though I won't be at RotoWire here, I'll definitely be using your stuff as much as I possibly can. And one of the things I'll be missing from RotoWire is being able to be in the office and run trades by you, or throw prospect names at you. I mean, obviously I can still do that, and fans can still do that, our readers can still do that in Discord and other places, and that has a ton of value. But it's always great to just see you in the hall here in the office or whatever, and run something by and get your take, because that was always beneficial for leagues and also just fun. So
yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the same without you, man. I'd really appreciate you just kind of creating an environment that allowed me to kind of create that path and run with it. There weren't sort of strict kind of guardrails. It was just kind of do as much good work as you can do and sort of see what happens. And just really gonna cherish those early years at RotoWire, especially back, before the pandemic, back when everyone was going into the office and stuff. But yeah, just really appreciate the company you built, man, and the opportunity you gave so many of us.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome. But I mean, obviously, I got more. You guys did just such great work. I can only thank you and everybody else that worked here tremendously, and it was just a ton of fun. And we won't be total strangers. We'll be going toe to toe in many leagues. The Auto New Staff League, of which you and I are perennial contenders, and that'll be that'll be fun. And that's a good league because I tend to take more of the boring veterans, and you take all the prospects, and yet somehow we both have competitive teams all the time. So I look forward to seeing if we can unseat our friend Jamie from the multiple championships he's had in a row here. So hopefully one of us can do it.
Yeah, Jamie, we're coming for you this year, and I'll see you at the party tomorrow night, Pete, and I'll see you at the steak dinners and not too far down the line, and definitely won't be strangers. So really appreciate you hopping on the pod today and sharing trip down memory lane. And the stash draft was a blast. Thanks to everyone for listening. We're brought to you. Who are we brought to you by?
Sling.
Sling. We're brought to you by Sling. All right. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thanks.